guys, we are back with another episode today, another podcast, and I kind of said the same thing. So
yeah, pretty close. It's okay. It's okay.
For context, I say the same intro every day or every time, I tried to change it up, and I got 2 words different.
Yep, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, so you got any updates on your end? You're gonna say something, but then you said let's just record it. So what was it that you're gonna say?
Well, it's in regards to our conversation that we'll get into. So, for update though, I actually do have a mini update that I'm actually seeing crazy results. Like honestly, only 1-2 weeks in of this one change in my diet, or not diet, in my plan. Which,
Yeah,
obviously you don't expect to have changes that quick, but I am, and so I'm just running with it. But there's an old Rich Piana thing where he talks about growing his arms, and obviously he has his history with synthol and his different drug use and whatnot, but for his arms, he said the one thing that I want everyone to do is right before you go to bed, so this is after you've eaten your last meal, for me, after I've taken my supplements, all of that stuff, do 300 skull crushers, 300 hammer curls. Like you do it in sets of 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. And you do that with he used the words like baby weight. He said like a 15. But when you get that high, I mean, I'm using something less than that just because that's so many reps.
and this is at home?
Yep.
You're just using like dumbbells, like small dumbbells?
Yeah, I've got dumbbells at home. And so I literally just I lay down in bed, I grab my 2 weights, and I do between 50 and 100 skull crushers, and then I'll stand up and I'll do between 50 and 100 hammer curls, and I'll just go. Like I'll burn myself out. And I also added I don't know if it's pinch grip or close grip chest pressing with the dumbbells.
Yeah, it's close. I would say close grip.
Yeah, close grip. And I do that just because my chest is my most or my area that needs the most work. Even though I know I have a bad view on my arms, but people tell me that they're okay. But chest, I know for a fact, is my area that I need the most work on. And so I've been doing that for literally just a week. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting this pump right before bed, and then I wake up and I just feel like I still have it. Obviously I don't, but like I just feel like my arms have grown. I haven't measured like centimeter wise my arms since I started doing this. I probably should do one like today so then I can get a before and an after. But I just feel so much better about my upper body. So it might just be fully the placebo of like doing it and thinking that I'm getting bigger. But that's what I started adding at the end of, I do it at the end of any day that I do a workout. So if I do a rest day where I'm not in the gym, I won't do it there just because as you know, Paul, one of my biggest problems is overworking when I find something that works. So I really have to make sure that, when I'm doing something like this, I'm only doing it on working days. And even some like what was it, I did my chest day and I crushed my chest day this week, like to the point where I couldn't hold my arms out in front of me. And on a night like that, I finished all my nightly routine and I sat down, I grabbed the dumbbells, and it was just, I'm like, it's not going today, it's not going to work. So obviously, with moderation and regulation, but for me, this one little change has impacted me heavily, and I'm loving it. I'm certainly going to continue it. Again, it 100% could be just placebo effect right now. Like it's the same thing in like sports. So like golf, I buy a new golf driver and I hit it perfect for a month, and then I get back into my old ways. Like your body and brain tricks your mind or tricks yourself into either feeling good about something or thinking something is working. But obviously consistency is key. So I'm just going to keep at this. I'd average about 3 to 4 nights a week doing it because right now I work out between 3, 4, maybe 5 on a good week. So I'm averaging between 3 and 4 nights a week of doing this, and it's been great. And with the chest, like that little bit obviously that's not going to improve my strength because I'm moving 15-pound dumbbells, so it's not like going to improve my weight at all. But this is purely just to get my aesthetics a little bit better and getting my pecs a little bit more defined, because I struggle getting that center, right down the middle. I have that gap right down at the bottom of my pec in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like like people call it the cereal bowl sometimes. That
Yeah,
little
sternum,
indent
your
right.
sternum area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I struggle with that. So obviously, like I'll do different variations of the close grip press. Like if I'm like sitting up to get a little bit of an incline, or I'll even bounce myself off the end of my bed to get a decline. Like just varying or getting different variations in as we go. Just trying to target every little bit. And again,
Yeah.
it's just for definition, just to get a little bit of extra work. And I know you've talked about in your past how like chest was an area for you that you know wanted improvement in, so you're doing like twice a week.
Yep.
For I don't know, I think you said like 2 years you did twice a week or something like that.
It
And
was it was a while. Like it was at least a
yeah,
year. I did 2 chest days a week.
yeah, and I unfortunately, with my new schedule and what I do in my day, I can't make it to the gym enough days to get a second chest day in because I still have to
Uh-huh.
hit everything else. So this is my little way of like continuing to improve and continuing to make small little changes, just in the comfort of my own home. And I will say too, my sleep has gotten a lot better because I exert myself. And at first I was skeptical because obviously when you do lifting not as much so as cardio, but your heart rate does still increase, especially doing that many reps. So I had worries about that at first, but when I'd fall into bed after doing 300 reps of hammer curls, skull crushers, and close grip press, I just
Mhm.
fall into bed and I'm out, man. So
How long does it
it's
take
actually
you?
I don't have my phone at that time because I make it a point to not be using my phone right before bed. So I do it by candlelight, but I'd probably say it takes me between 10 minutes, maybe 15 if it's on the longer side. Maybe not so much. I'd say between 5 and 10 actually. Now that I think about it, just
Okay,
because
interesting. That's
you
quick.
you
Yeah.
don't take any breaks. You go first set, so I start with my skull crushers, then you go right into hammer curls, then you go right into the close grip press, and then you go right back. There's no rest time in between because you're
Yeah.
hitting different muscles, so it's not like you're needing to give it time, like or extra time, I should say. Because when I'm doing my hammer curls, obviously my triceps aren't engaged, so that's more or less their rest time. Um,
Gotcha.
and with such low weight, when I do the close grip press, I can just completely target my pec muscles, like take out the
Yeah.
arm and shoulder almost completely, just because of how small the weight is and being able to have that mind muscle connection. So
Yeah.
for me, it's really been working, and I'm just going to keep at it. And that's what I mean. Like we talk about it all the time, finding changes and testing it out, and if it works, if it doesn't work, like keep at it. Like this is just a thing that I saw on, I think it was either Instagram or TikTok, because my thing is full of Rich Piana stuff. So when you
Hmm.
guys see anything on your socials or even hear Paul and I talk about something weird, just give it a try. You never know if you're gonna like it. Like when I saw him do that or talk about it, I was like, that's killer. That's like when he talks about his 8-hour arm workout. I'm like, that I don't know if I could do that. And I just gave it a try, and I love it. So just stick at it, guys.
Not the not the eight
No,
hour workout.
no, I did not try the 8-hour workout, and I don't think I would like it either.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
need
so
8
over
shakes
the
throughout
top.
this.
Yeah, the amount of protein shakes he has is ridiculous. Yeah, I think it just for that the results just comes down to just overall volume. You're just putting a lot more volume into your arms, and that's really, especially smaller muscle groups like your arms, delts, even chest a little bit, and calves. It comes down to a lot to volume typically. High intensity typically doesn't necessarily work that well with the smaller muscle groups. It's not how they're built. So the higher volume is going to result more. That's why like my split being 6 days, whatever I need to work on for a long period of time, I'll make 2 days a week as part of it. Really, I'm doing 5 different days in the gym, but one of them I'm repeating. So like chest was that first for me. And then right for the past like 6 to 10 months, I don't even know how long, it's been arms. It's been arms for the longest time. So 2 arm days a week. And it drastically improves whatever I'm trying to improve upon. And
And you
chest was
said
the first one.
I think also more recently in the past like week or 2 week, you've talked about how you've had to add like ab days in a lot of the week now too.
I don't have to. I'm just choosing to because I'm prepping for my show. So I just want to make sure that I can maintain the muscle there while I'm depleted.
Okay.
So that's why I started training abs the second we started to cut, because I wanted to be sure that when I am very low calorie, very low carb, very low protein, I can still hold on to my abdominals because I'm allegedly on anabolics, which is going to help with that. It's going to help with the maintaining. So I want to make sure that I am training it enough to keep my abs, full and round and not flat when we step on stage.
Yeah.
So there's this video. I don't know if you saw it. I love this clip so much. It makes me die laughing. This guy's playing games and he's just like, oh no! Like he's like playing games or something, and he like realizes something. So he like, and then he puts his hands on his head. He goes, oh no! So it was like the meme was like, when I forget to do abs for the 10,000th time in a row, and I'm like, that's literally
That's
me.
that's a sad reality though for a lot of people in the gym because I mean we've talked about how ab growth one is in the kitchen and two you get a lot of it from like compound movements anyways.
Yeah.
But the reality is I would say between 30, 40, maybe even 50% of people that go in the gym just don't hit abs like at all throughout the week.
Yeah, I don't really when I'm bulking. It's just I'm already so taxed from training with such high intensity and high volume that I don't have the energy really to put into abs. But like right now, I'm still training with decent intensity, but I'm really just making it a point that I'm hitting some sort of abs pretty much every day except for back and legs. Some of
Yeah.
the days I don't hit abs. So today being chest, I'm gonna hit some abs after.
Well, you got to hit abs on back day because your skin is going to be stretched out on both sides, so it feels like she's holding you.
Oh gosh. That's weird. You gotta get a pump from both sides. Like, yes, a pump
I'm being
hug.
held again. The comfort of my own hug.
Your own pump hug. But yeah, it's so that's the reason I put that in there. And my arms have drastically improved since I started doing 2 arm days a week. They've always been a weakness for me. They're not. I wouldn't necessarily say they're a strength, especially my triceps. My triceps are extremely hard to build, but my biceps have gotten to a much better place. And to add to what you were saying earlier, the thing that literally was night and day for me, that drastically changed the way my biceps looked, was like in quotations wide grip dumbbell curls. So I would
Hmm.
just do dumbbell curls, really heavy dumbbell curls, and hold the dumbbells like it's a wide grip. So my arms are facing away from me, and then I'd squeeze from my pinky and curl. And that helps with the I think it's the I always get them mixed up. I think it's the short head of the bicep. It's the inside of the bicep. And that's really what's given me my peak. Like I've gotten a lot more of a peak from that, because a lot of my long head was what I was training before, and I didn't realize it. So when I started doing that, I was fucking my short head, and it's just drastically improved. Um, so I've gotten way more meticulous about what heads I hit and what movement for both my biceps and my triceps, and how they're hit. So I have it pretty much dialed in for the most part. The only thing I can't quite figure out is whenever I train, I do a tricep press movement, like a bench press movement. So I can't quite figure out which one works best for me, whether that's Smith, barbell, or machine. Machine as in like is it's like a lying plate loaded hammer strength machine. I can't
Yeah.
figure out which one works best for me. So I don't know. I'll keep experimenting and keep figuring out. Someday something's gonna click, like the bicep curls did. It's one day something's gonna click and it's just gonna work. But yeah, that's what I do. That's how I built my shit up. So chest was I will attest to flies, and a lot of incline press movements. is really what's going to help build your chest. And we've talked about it before. It's either you have a chest or you have delts. Something that more plates, more
Yep.
dates said, and it is the reality. My delts aren't.
I'm just thinking of the meme from Derek, the one I sent you, where his shoulders are like built up like it's photoshopped, and it looks like he has like shoulder pads on.
Yeah, yeah, he's got the Death Star delts, man. He's got the
Yeah,
craziest delts. But that's why he was talking about it, is because he's got crazy, crazy delts, but then he just doesn't have a chest. He's just like, my chest is shit. He's like, you
yeah.
either have delts or you have a chest. Really, I mean, I think it just comes down to proper training and a little bit of genetics, and then just as far as posing goes, just having proper posing. So you can have delts and chest while you're posing. It'll look good, but you're gonna have one that's more dominant than the other, and that's my chest. My chest is a lot more dominant than my delts, and my chest is one of my strengths at this point. So my titties, my little boobies, are one of my strengths. So yeah, that's how it
See,
works for me.
that's the opposite for me because my delts, my shoulders have always been my just that's my killer move right there. And so
Yeah,
trying to develop my chest to a point of, it's not going to be a dominant group for me, but just getting it to the point of just being proportional with everything else. That's been what I'm grinding towards. Um,
yeah, I think proportions is everything.
yeah,
Well, when it comes
exactly.
to bodybuilding, yeah, like when it comes to just lifestyle and general living, I always tell guys, I'm like, dude, just work on your chest and your arms. That's really it. Because when you're like, I mean, obviously work everything else, but I'm saying like if you want to have something that's a strength for you, focus on chest and arms. That's not what's going to win you a show, but that's what's going to get people to look at you in public. Um, that's the reality. Some guys would argue back. I disagree. I think when you have a crazy chest, especially when people are looking at you from the front, from the back, yeah, of course you want a little bit of a back, but when people are looking at you from the front, you got a big chest, you got big arms, they're gonna think that you're a massive dude, and you could have the tiniest fucking legs ever. You could have no midsection, but because you have arms and a chest, they're gonna think that you're massive. So it's just the illusion. It's just how people see it.
Were you intending to do pec raises right there while you were talking? Like you
No, no,
were.
I so that's completely like I've been able to do like pec flexes for so long, and I do them so often whenever I think, that it's become like a tick for me now. Like it's like a fidget. Like I'm sitting
Yeah.
here and I'm just like, I could just like read. I'll be reading. I'll be doing this shit on the couch. Like it's just,
Your
I
wife
don't know
walks in
why.
and is just like, "What is going on?"
I'm sure people see it in public too, and I don't realize I'm doing it. It's just something that I do.
Middle of a
Um,
sales meeting and just asserting your dominance by bouncing them.
I just put my chest right in the camera and just keep flexing them. No, but thank God my work doesn't really do cameras. We're all IT people, so we don't really do cameras. We don't do that shit. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a fidget thing.
I'll say
But
for
yeah,
me for my now shift in building chest because um for the longest time I was just improve everything, like that was my
yeah.
mindset. Now it's like 90% improve chest and maintain everything else just to like get that there. I've been doing so many, and I mean so many press movements. Like I
Oh,
think
I was gonna say do the opposite. You should do more flies.
I'm looking at it also from a strength perspective too, because strength wise, my chest. I mean, obviously, I'm coming off the hand injury, so my strength is down in general. But
Hmm.
proportionately for the weight I'm moving for my other muscle groups, my chest is so far behind. So the a lot of press movements for me is to get that up, and obviously, bodybuilding or just trying to look good. Weight isn't our everything. Our everything is
Yeah.
how we look and aesthetics and everything. But confidence wise, the way I move is a big part of it. And, leaving the ego at the door is something that, I battle with, but it's something that we recommend for everybody. And while I try to do that, it still sucks to put the weight that I do for press or like bench press or grab the dumbbells I do for inclines or regular uh, press with the dumbbells. So I
Yep.
think my last chest day, which was this week, I did, let me count them out, probably 20 press sets.
Okay.
between everything I did, which
That's
for
a
me is
lot.
a lot. It is a lot, and
Yeah.
that was then with the fly movements on top of it that I normally do anyways. And I ended my workout with a plate loaded chest fly, and I started with the weight that is my starting weight for any other set, and I got to like 6, and I was like, oh baby, I'm toast.
Yeah.
So doing a lot of press movements depletes the energy a lot faster.
For sure.
So now I think I'm gonna do like every other week. So do my regular like definition chest day, and then my heavy press day the other week, and just keep bouncing back and forth to try and get the improvement on both fronts.
Yeah, I would look at it like because you said heavy definition day. I would look at it like high volume day versus
Yeah,
high intensity day.
that's what I mean.
Okay. I was gonna say because like even though I'm cutting and I'm depleted, like I'm middle of depletion right now, I haven't really changed the way I train. I train the exact same way I've always trained. And I asked my coach, I was like, hey, should I be training differently? Should I my assumption, I know what will happen peak week as far as training goes, but my assumption was if I'm gonna change training, it's gonna be higher rep count, lighter weight, and not quite going to failure all the time. And he said, no, we're not really going to change anything until maybe 10 days out. And that's really what's going to happen then is when you're depleted, when you're so depleted and you're doing a water cut and all that shit. At that point, you don't want to inflame your muscles really. Like you can get a pump, but you don't want to inflame or really like go to failure on anything. So you do really, really high reps, like 16 to 20 on pretty much every set and just do really low weight.
Yeah,
And really focus on like your joint health and just good form and all of that to burn the calories versus actually like building muscle. But yeah, so that's what I would do is just high volume, like probably like if it was me, I'd probably do 12 to 16 reps on everything. And then like your high intensity do like 8 to 12. That's what I would do. But that's just
yeah.
me.
My high intensity, like the days where I'm trying to move a lot of weight, I do like a warm up set for. My warm up sets go between 12 to 15 just to get blood flowing.
Yeah.
And then most times I hit failure around 6 just because I'm pushing as hard as I fucking can.
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
Yeah. So when I go for legs really I mean pretty much every time I train I try to get no less than 8, but legs specifically I've been very very picky on what I do in the gym because I'm just trying to like prolong my joints basically just as far as longevity goes. And right now my focus isn't my legs. My legs are like as far as like definition goes for sure a strength of mine. I could use a lot more volume, but that's not what I need right now. I don't need crazy big legs. They're good enough to be proportionate for the most part. And I got quad veins now on the pretty regularly and calf veins and all of that. So it's not like I'm trying to get more defined there. So I'm just making sure that I get like 45 minutes to an hour of a solid leg day where my knees don't hurt, my hips don't hurt after, and I'm doing high volume on everything. So like right now, like really, I think so here's my problem, right? Is my quads for they're not the big like I don't got big quads. I got defined quads for sure, but like I don't got big quads. But I have very very strong quads. I have no idea my PR on anything, but I respond best to squats, barbell squats or hack squats, but it's very hard on my knees. The alternative would be leg press, and my problem is that I put so much weight on the leg press. I end up spending so much time doing that one movement. The last time I hit it, I put just over 11 plates on each side. So, and that was for like a solid like 9-10. We're not talking like a couple here. I'm not one of those like bullshit like, oh, my PR leg press is 1,500 pounds. There is no PR on leg press. You're just weak. So I got like 8 or 9 reps out of 11 plates, and it just took so long to unrack all that weight and to walk around the gym to find those plates that like it just wasted fucking 20 minutes. I also did like 6 or 7 sets on leg press though, and I did toast my quads. It just takes so long. Where right now it's like leg day is like my day where I can actually relax more because I'm not doing cardio afterwards and I'm not doing abs. So I can get there, hit a 45-minute to an hour leg session and go home and relax for a few hours rather than like an hour, hour and a half before bed.
Yeah.
So that's my focus with legs as of right
Legs,
now.
I will say for legs and leg press specifically, that's like the one day that I enjoy working out with not a group but one other person, because it makes the plate loading a lot easier.
Yeah.
You
If
know,
I had someone for sure.
squats is different because, you know, I'm not squatting the weight that requires a ton of time for plate loading. But for leg
Mhm.
press, you're absolutely right. It does take a while, and especially doing like if you want to do a drop set on a leg press, like you just need that other person there.
Yeah. When it comes to squats, I mean, with leg day in general, I love lifting with other people, just for the motivation. Every time
Oxytocin, my friend.
every time I've thrown up from legs, it's because of lifting with other people. So I would love to lift legs with other people, but then the other days I'm good. I want to be kind of by myself,
Yeah.
for the most part. Um,
Do you
but yeah,
still do any
legs
work
is,
with Chew?
not really. Him and his schedule didn't really align with mine. Um, so it got difficult when he first moved here. It did, because I was hitting the gym at like 3:30, and that's when he would hit the gym. So it did kind of align. But then, like, I think a couple of his friends moved out to Charlotte that he lives with now. So like he kind of gravitated towards like his, like, essentially real friends. Like him and I were like
Yeah.
training partners kind of. So he kind of gravitated towards like it's like me training with him, but then you move to Charlotte. It's like I naturally kind of gravitate towards lifting with you because you're a friend of mine. Like we're actually like close.
Yeah.
So it's just like I didn't take any offense to it, and that's totally fine. And the way we train is very different. He goes way more high intensity than I do. So it's more difficult for it's just what his body responds to. I asked my coach, I was like, hey, did you write his training program or anything? Because it's way more intensity than the last time we lifted. And he said he just responds differently to training now. So they had to like adjust it, and it's just all intensity. But yeah, so like
7 days a
now,
week, all intensity.
yeah, like that's how some people are. But I'm a lot more volume for the most part, depending on what I'm training. But he did get a new job, so it's possible that him and I will start training again. I'm not sure. A lot of
Is
people.
I
Hmm?
was gonna say, is he? I don't think he is, but is he under your not yours, but your coach's regime as well?
Yes, yeah, he's still with
Oh, he
Tom, my
is. Oh,
coach.
okay.
Yep. Yeah, yeah,
I thought he
yep,
wasn't for. Okay.
yep. Yeah, so he's still with Tom. I can't foresee him or I ever leaving Tom. And it would take something drastic for me to ever leave Tom Cox. If you guys are listening, check out Tom Cox. Trust me. Um, check out his social media. So it would take a lot. It'd have to be like Chris Aceto or some shit to like approach me and be like, I want to train. I want to be your coach. Like that's, it'd be something ridiculous. Like a legendary coach, Milo Sarkev, like, hey, Paul Gurney, I want to be your coach. Like that's the only thing that would take me away.
Tom
Really, is like
Platz
someone
goes,
ridiculous.
"Hey, Paul, you want to be my client?"
If for training for sure, dude. But yeah, so him and I were Tom. He's Chewy got a new job. He's a cop for Charlotte now. He's back on the beat. I don't know exactly when he's getting on the beat, but I think he's going to become a detective again because he was a detective. So him and I might start training again because he's done it like 5:30 every day. So it's possible. And a lot of people from Golds that I used to go to are leaving Gold because of how busy it is. Um, and a few people are starting to come to the gym I go to, which is cool. I think that they deserve more
you,
popularity, but also like fucking go away.
I was gonna say you're at the door with a squat bar, wielding it like a sword. Like, stay out my
Just like
gym.
I bike lock to fucking doors. People from Golds are like, "Let me in! It's too busy at the Golds." I'm like, "Fuck off! I found it first."
The Eric Andre meme. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in.
And let me in. Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. I'm just like, fucking go away. But yeah, no, I'm good with Golds. There is a new gym opening up in South End called Core 24/7 or some shit. It's like they call it a concept gym. It's literally like it looks sick. I might check it out. It's gonna be expensive though, probably like $80 a month. when they build it, it's gonna be like it's like an influencer gym. It's got like dark lighting, but the lighting is like LED strips that are like modern and shit, and like all the equipment's black. So it's like it's really good lighting. They have a couple locations in South Carolina, and they're opening up one in Charlotte. And it's like they got like different colored LEDs throughout the gym too, like pink and green and red and shit. So like the lighting is dope. But I don't know how good the equipment's gonna be. So we'll see. But that'll be interesting.
This is only related because of the lighting conversation, but I went out to a late dinner, and they drank obviously, but I didn't. Good. At the Colonial Hotel. Do you remember that from your days in Gardner? And
of course.
So we were there late last night. We're talking like 11:30, and we're on our way out, and there's this big mirror, and of course I look, and there's perfect soft overhead lighting. So I'm at the front of the group, and I just stop and I hit a side chest, and the person that's nearest to me was like, "What the fuck is he doing?" Because I don't, they know I work out, but they don't know like the extent of it because I don't really share that with them. And they were just like, "What is this kid doing?"
Yeah, posing is so weird looking to normal people. Like to people who don't participate in training or bodybuilding, posing looks so weird. So I mean, I get it when people are like, "What the hell is that?" Like, I know it looks weird. It is a very weird stance, but it makes sense.
Like when someone says, like, for example, when I teach and one of my students goes, "Hey, can you flex?" I know that they're talking about like a front double or something like that. And I call it a front double, but to them it's called do the flex. But how I want to respond is, well, when they say do the flex, I want to respond, pick a pose. like you want a lat spread? What do you want?
I completely understand that. It's people saying that it's just weird. It's like going up to a comedian and be like, "Dude, tell me a joke." It's like, I don't stay the time or place, bro. Like this ain't it. But that's just how people be.
Unless your name is Theo Vaughn.
Dude, Theo Vaughn just being himself is enough.
I know, that's what I mean. Everything he says is
Bro, I was watching a clip the other day, and then we'll continue on our conversation, but I was watching a clip and he was just like, he's like, when you pet a dog and that dog don't walk away, my God. Yeah, he's like, when you pet a dog and they don't walk away, oh my God. Yeah, I love that.
Praise God, baby.
Yeah, praise God, baby. Makes you want to kick a fat kid in Kmart. You know what I'm saying?
Praise God, baby.
But yeah, so to update kind of where I'm at on top of the training is like, we've been kind of depleted for a couple weeks now. And I'm really starting to believe in myself. I think, when I first started the cut for the show and, I was talking about it here and all that, I didn't really see it yet, because I had so much fat and, I didn't think I was going to be able to lose it in time, especially because we like pushed really hard December last year with keto and made like no progress. So I'm like, I just don't know, man. I'm just like, I just don't see it. We're so far, like we're so close, like 5 weeks out. Like I want to be diced already for the most part. Like I want to be focusing on specific like spots of fat that I'm trying to work on, accentuate a back day over a chest day to lose the fat there. If I could, like something like that at 5 weeks versus like trying to lose fat all over. But the thing is like when you're depleted and you're doing more and more cardio, less and less food, still training the same, you got anabolics on your side to assist with recovery. The results is truly exponential. Every day you look better than the day before. I'm genuinely making gains every single day now. And I see more and more of my abs every day, more and more veins every single day. And like I said, it's exponential. So it's like let's say I had like 6 weeks, like really like we were in prep for like 6 weeks by the time we hit the show. Week 1, I probably make as much progress as like the first 2 days of week 6, it's like, it's exponential. You make more and more progress each day. So like looking back, like the photo I sent you, 3 weeks of progress and about like 4 pounds of fat lost over about 3 weeks, but it looks a lot more than that. And this week I've already lost about 3 pounds this week too. So like I'm exponentially getting closer and closer. So like that's really interesting to see because I can truly see myself actually stepping on stage now, and I can see my frame. Like I'm really actually starting to see my frame. I've never been this lean before. My leanest ever was a couple of years ago. It was towards the end of my first cycle. It was Anavar and test. And at the time it was pretty high test. I think I got up to like 600 megs at one point. It was pretty high. And then I think it was 25 megs of Anavar a day. I think, I forget how much it was, or maybe it was 50 every other day. I forget, but
Is that all pen or is that
no, Anavar is oral.
Okay.
So testosterone is pending, Anavar is oral. And obviously I was taking Arimidex at the time, which is an AI. I take Aromasin now. My body responds much better to Aromasin than Arimidex. They're both AIs, and it just helps lower estrogen. But that was my leanest ever. But now I'm like over probably 10 pounds heavier than I was then. And I look leaner than I did then. So like I always compare my leanest to that year's Florida trip because that was the end of my cycle. We planned on having a 6-pack for Florida, which we did. But I'm at the point now where my Florida trip coming up this week, and then my show after that, I'm already past where I was in Florida. And then the other thing too is that when I was in Florida, I looked better and better because I was resting like the entire time. All we did was lounge on the beach besides me training and going to the dinner and shit. So we lounged on the beach and I got tons of vitamin D, sweating a ton. So like I got even leaner because I was giving my body the rest and the vitamin D that it needed. So I know that when I'm in Florida, I'm depleted. I'm not eating out food at all. I'm training with cardio and all of that. I know the week in Florida, I'm showing up to Florida and coming home to Florida, I'm going to have a completely different look. So I am looking forward to that. And on top of that, we're also doing all of this with a decent amount of food. I'm still having a decent amount of carbs. I'm not even close to keto. Not even close. I'm probably having like 100 grams of carbs right now, which is great. And also not like a shit ton of cardio either. I'm only doing 40 minutes a day, 5 times a week. So it's not like I'm doing a shit ton of cardio. It's like an hour in the morning, an hour after training. It's like 40 minutes is very doable. And I actually look forward to cardio because I get to read for 40 minutes, which we've talked about. I've talked about reading. We talked about reading during cardio last week, but like, when you have a really good book, like I'm reading a really, really good book right now. I look forward to cardio. If you guys are listening, check out Flowers for Algernon. Phenomenal book. Very, very, very good emotional character. It's character driven. It's not quite super sci-fi like I'm used to. But so that makes it easier too. And then like the gym I go to allows for shirtless training. So I genuinely can see the progress as I train. And it's fucking so hyped, dude. I can't even explain it. Like I was hitting shoulders on Wednesday and I had to text my coach because I was so hyped. I had a spider web going across my left pec. Like it was like so much veins was coming out of my chest and my traps.
Joe
It was
aesthetic
crazy.
who?
Literally, like it was so much
Alien
veins. Yeah, for real. I wish I had that. But yeah, my vascularity in my chest is pretty strong. My arms, I wish my arms had more vascularity. I just don't think I have very thick veins in my arms, but my chest has a lot of vascularity. And my calves, I almost have like viscosus veins in my calves. Like I'm like literally like, I'm going to be Nick Walker. Like my calves are going to look like Nick Walker's calves. Like even when I was at my heaviest and fattest, like my calves still had crazy veins. It's just they've always been lean.
And one day Nick Walker's calves will look like mine. So
yeah, no one's calves will ever look like yours, Stoph. Let's be honest.
So you can strive for Nick Walker, but the goal should be striving for me.
I don't strive for Nick Walker at fucking all. I'm just saying my veins are going to end up looking like his. He has viscosus veins in his calves, and my veins are going to end up looking like that. They're getting more and more obvious. So, and here's the other thing too, is that the thing with there's a lot of like common misconceptions when it comes to prep, especially when it comes to like the small nitty gritty stuff of food as well as the anabolic side. So for the food side, I've just kind of been cooking my food the same way I always have. Zero sugar seasonings, kind of staying away from sauces for the most part, besides like hot sauces, stuff like that, right? But this week, my coach sent me a question. He was like, "Hey, how much salt are you having every day?" I was like, I don't really add too much salt. I was like, I try not to add too much salt to my foods. I was like, I add kosher salt to my steak to balance out the Montreal seasoning I have because it's very peppery. So I balance it out with that. I put some salt on my eggs at night, pink Himalayan salt on my eggs at night. And that's pretty much it as far as added salt goes. And he said, all right, I want you to take out any added salt and add in a quarter teaspoon with your first meal, pre-workout, post-workout, and your final meal. So a quarter teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt with those 4 meals. So I ended up with a teaspoon of salt. And he said, because you should be drinking a ton of water right now, we need to keep your sodium up, but a healthy sodium. We shouldn't be having like bad sodium. Kosher salt's not the best salt. It's okay. It's not table salt.
Pink Himalayan sea salt.
Well, sea salt and pink Himalayan are completely different. Sea salt is obviously derived from the sea. It's dried out from the ocean, but pink Himalayan salt is mined. You mine it from mountains.
Yeah.
I think it's typically in Nepal or India or some shit. It's extremely cheap to mine it, but pink Himalayan salt is the shit. It tastes so good. I think we made
a joke about miners stealing the pink salt as they mine it. Like, oh no, we have to watch out for people taking pink salt and taking it with them.
Oh gosh, yeah, for real. They'd make like $1 off like 30 pounds of it.
There's just a bodybuilder in there who's taking it as he goes.
He's like eating his chicken and rice. He's just like, whoop, put it in his pocket. He's like, I'm out of here. Fucking, I saw this video. Russ, the music artist. He has he did a house tour of his house, and he has a gigantic room of just Himalayan salt. It's just Jesus. The walls are all salt. I think the chairs are salt. Everything's salt. And I'm like, dude, that cannot be good for you. Like, I'm pretty sure you're not like, I understand like a Himalayan salt lamp or something that kind of like it's kind of like bath salts. It kind of just like soothes your skin. But like, dude, that's so overwhelming. The amount of salt in that room, like that cannot be good for you. And he said he loves it. He sits in there for like an hour a day. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
He has to take a bath with moisturizer just to balance out his skin being so dry.
Dude, like, just dries in the fuck out, I'm sure. But so we added in that salt, and it's actually drastically improved my my blood flow. My pumps have been fucking nuts at the gym. I know that adding salt to like your pre-workout adds a lot of pump, but it was night and day just having more salt in my system, and I didn't realize how little amount of salt I was getting. A lot of the salt I was getting was kind of from my seasonings, but he said let's do saltless seasonings. So like mustard and saltless seasonings, hot sauce, stuff like that. Take out anything that has like really added salt to it. And then add the pink Himalayan salt. So I just, when I do the pre-workout Himalayan salt, I basically dry scoop the salt and then drink my pre-workout. That way, because pink Himalayan salt's a bitch to dissolve within water. So I just make sure I get the full amount in my mouth, and then I just drink my pre-workout, and I just don't breathe in between. So I don't taste a crazy amount of salt. And by the time I drink my pre-workout and then drink some water afterwards, I don't taste the salt. So that's my strategy.
He's dry scooping his pre-workout.
Bro, it's like the tiniest little fucking scoop of pink Himalayan salt. I'm like, it's like a I don't even know what to compare it to.
I think the first time I put pink salt in my pre-workout, I put like a half tablespoon or something like that, like just a minute amount.
Shit ton.
Or
like a half teaspoon. I was going to say half tablespoon is a shit ton.
Oh, sorry.
Teaspoon. Half teaspoons. Okay, that's more normal.
I got it mixed up.
That's way too much.
But I remember putting it in, and like this was the first time I'd ever put it in pre-workout. I hated it. The taste was ruined. It was like I'm drinking it only because I have to.
yeah. That's why I just dry scoop it and I don't breathe. With drinking my pre-workout. I almost never breathe when I drink my pre-workout anyways, because most pre-workouts taste like shit to me. They're either overpowering in the flavor or the flavor just tastes terrible. So I almost never like breathe. Like, like if you clog your nose, you can almost never taste anything. It's like that. If you just hold your breath, drink, and then I just kind of like literally do like a chaser of water. I like just drink extra water to wash it down, and then I breathe and I'm fine. But yeah, so that's what's changed this week, and then just a little bit of added cardio. I mean, between today and yesterday, we added cardio 5 minutes a day. So now it's 40 minutes versus 35. And then we made the salt change. Between today and Wednesday, I think I've lost like about 1.5 pounds of mainly fat. So getting a lot more defined, which is great. And like I said, really starting to see my frame. I've never really been able to see like what I actually physically look like as far as like the muscle I built. And I had a conversation with my coach yesterday because I sent him the 3-week progress, and I was like, I truly didn't like. I was like, I trusted you in the process in the beginning because I knew that you saw something that I didn't. I didn't believe in myself in the beginning, but now I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to believe in myself now, and like he's just like, dude, he's like, we've put way too much effort the past 2.5 years to really like not show up as a true contender. He's like, you're a true contender when we show up. We just really just need to lock in your conditioning. That's all we have to do. Like, I have the size, I have the frame. We just need to get the conditioning down.
It's all the mindset. You got to have the killer mindset.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm just showing up for that. And I was like, of course I want to win overall. Like, that's my goal. But really at the end of the day, I just want to show up the best I possibly can. Like, I want to lose all the stubborn fat that I have. I want to see my actual frame. I want to come in as best I could. I think my biggest competition is going to be my coach's other client. Granted, that might not be the reality. I might show up and somebody might be like fucking crazy looking and prepping for a national show for a pro card or something. But like, for me, I'm really shooting for the overall now that I'm doing True Novice. So that's another update too, is I'm doing True Novice and Men's Open Class D for men's physique. True Novice, you can only do the first time you compete, which you and I talked about, but you can only do that the first time you compete. So he said, just do both because it'll give you more stage time. And it's the only time I could do it, you know? So
did you say Men's Open?
Men's physique, like Men's Open.
Oh, okay.
So like it's the open division of men's physique. So it's Men's Physique Open.
I was gonna say that's if you're doing like Men's Open, like just full on open, that's opposite of what you've been talking about.
No. I would never step on Men's Open stage. I don't have the size for it.
Coach just drops that on you.
The only thing I could potentially like even try is classic, but I just don't have the size for it yet. Yeah. I just really don't. Like, I know if I stepped on stage, I wouldn't get overall. I'd maybe get like top 3 in my class, maybe. I just don't have the size, especially my legs. I would need to grow a lot more legs. But yeah, so that's really the most recent update. Tomorrow, I'm driving out to my coach's gym that he trains at. He lives in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina. It's about an hour and a half drive. So I'm going to drive out to him tomorrow to work on transitions. It's a regional show. They're not going to care too much about transitions. I mean, if you've ever been to a regional show, you know what.
Have it locked in.
Exactly. So I told him, I was like, look, I'm sure that regional shows, they don't really care about transitions. Transitions, guys, for any pose is just moving from one pose to the next. In men's physique, there's only 2 poses. So might as well get the transition locked in and good. At least natural looking. I don't want to stumble or look nervous or anything like that. I want to look fluid with my motions. So that's what we're going to work on tomorrow. So I'm going to drive out there, pose with him maybe for a half hour, which is like basically fucking its own cardio, and then drive back. But yeah, so that's the plan tomorrow. And then I got Florida on Thursday. As far as like any sort of anabolic changes, everything's been the same so far. No changes there, no increases, no decreases. The only plan right now, I asked him, I said, hey, I got to order some more shit soon. I said, is there anything you want me to get on top of what I'm getting? And he said just get some Winstrol for peak week. So probably what's going to end up happening is peak week we'll end up pulling the Masteron, which is DHT, and replace it with Winstrol, which is another DHT. So we're probably going to do that peak week, and we'll see what we do with my test and my trend. It's possible we end up pulling both of those completely. I mean, I know a couple pros that have done almost nothing going into a show, like basically just trend or just test, like just basic shit going into a show, like as far as like overall number of compounds going into a show. So
D-ball test, just your normal stuff,
just your basic stuff, D-ball test, DECA. Yeah, so that's the plan right now. We're going to play it by ear, obviously. The peak week also, we're going to be doing a water cut, which I've already done a water cut. We tested a water cut to see how my body responded. I think I lost 8 pounds or something when I did it. last. It's we take Expel, which is an over the counter. You can get at a vitamin shop or GNC. It's a diuretic. So we do 3 gallons on Sunday of water, 2.5 on Monday, 2 Tuesday, 1.5 Wednesday, 1 gallon Thursday, half a gallon on Friday, and then just maybe sips of water on Saturday, which is the show date. And you're taking a diuretic the whole time. So basically, what you're doing is you're teaching your body, hey, we're taking in a shit ton of water right now. I need you to flush it all out. Like you go pee literally every like 15 minutes. So you're also taking a diuretic, which will help with that. So you keep flushing, and then you keep decreasing the amount of water. So even when you have a half gallon in your system, you're still peeing as much as normal, as much as you have been with the shit ton of water. So you're just expelling all of the water out of your body. It's pulling it out of your fat cells. It's pulling it out of like a lot of your blood. It's pulling out of your muscles. It's just pulling all the water out. So that's what that's how the water cut's going to work. So peak week's going to suck balls. I know that it's always peak week sucks for everybody. It's going to be suffering. But like if somebody says you're suffering at 3 weeks out, like to me, they're like, oh dude, that sounds like suffering. I'd be like, dude, fucking suck it up, dude. Like this shit's light work, bro. Like this ain't hard. This really ain't that bad. If you're not motivated enough to like enjoy this process, then just don't even bother.
Well, especially at that point too. Like if you've put in that much work, like
yeah,
you
2.5 years. 2.5 years of development, muscle building, posing work, like literally everything except for stepping on stage. Like this just affirms everything I've been doing. But yeah, it's really not that hard. And the thing I also keep in mind too, which has helped me drastically, is that when you're losing weight, when you're hungry, that's actually when you're losing the fat. So like when I'm hungry between meals and my stomach's growling, I'm like, I don't want food. This is when I'm losing the fat. This is what I need to keep in mind. Stop. Don't go eat cucumbers or bullshit. Like just sit and fucking suck it up because this is when I'm going to lose the fat. I'm hungry in the middle of the night sometimes. I'm like, go back to sleep. This is when I lose the fat. So that's what you got to keep in mind, is that when you're hungry, that's when your body's actually losing weight. That's when your body's losing the fat because it's going to use your fat as energy. So, that's what you got to keep in mind. People who get hungry, who have been used to bulking for so long, when they get hungry during a cut, they go eat something, chips or fucking vegetables, whatever it is. But like that, you're supposed to be hungry. That's the point. So that's what I got to keep in mind as I, go through my day. And obviously there's ways around it. Like, I have, Tren kind of helps with appetite suppression. My Adderall for my ADD helps with appetite suppression. So all of that kind of assists. Coffee helps a lot. Water helps a lot. Energy drinks helps a lot. So like stuff like that is what kind of helps me get through the day. So you got to find what works for you. I know plenty of people who chew a lot of gum when they're cutting. That helps them. Not for me. Gum actually makes me more hungry typically. But it just depends on the person. So you just got to suck it up and do it, really, at the end of the day. That's what matters. Yep. And that's what we've been doing. But I don't
have a good transition.
Yeah, I was going to say, to kind of add to what I was saying about Winstrol.
There you go.
Recently, so recently, Tom Platz and Arnold kind of came out recently and was talking about their old steroid cycles. Everything that they talk about now, Ronnie, any of the golden era literally anybody who's retired when it comes to bodybuilding, you need to take what they say with a grain of salt, because even any current bodybuilders, you need to take it with a grain of salt, because they're not going to tell, to a lot of them, especially if you're competing on the Olympia stage or even pro for that matter, they're probably not going to tell 100% the truth. Especially golden era bodybuilders. Arnold is one of them. He's still in his mind trying to beat his competitors. Like he's like if you're looking back and you're like, oh, I won 7 Olympias, would you rather say, oh, I took more than everybody else, or I took less? Yep. You'd want to say I took less, because then it sounds like you had the better genetics, you had the better talent for it. So,
and same with Tom Platz having, the quads of Jesus Christ himself.
Yeah, literally. So like you got to take it with a grain of salt, because chances are they're not telling the full truth. But Arnold did say like, oh, this is what I was taking when I was a bodybuilder. He had a interview with Men's Health that he talked about it. So he was saying during his prime, his main anabolics is testosterone and D-ball, 100 mgs a week of test, and 3 dianabol a day, which is 15 milligrams. So that is bullshit. Let's just say that. That's just bullshit. There's no way he was taking less. That's not even that's like borderline not even a TRT dose. Like 100 milligrams is like on the lower side of TRT dose. Well, as far as pinning goes, it's probably about right for TRT. But like if you compare it to TRT of like a bodybuilder, like my TRT dose, my cruise dose is 100 mgs, 150 mgs, sorry, 150 mgs a test a week. And he's saying that in his prime, in his biggest he ever was, at like 250 plus pounds, he's taking 100 mgs of test a week. Granted, D-ball, I'm pretty sure, is a testosterone derivative anyways, but like 100 mgs? Yeah, my fucking ass, bro. And then on top of that, he said 15 mgs of dianabol a day. That's 3 pills. Dude, there's no shot in fucking hell that's what you were taking. Considering, one, they knew nothing about anabolics back then. Anabolics were completely legal in America in the 70s. You can go to a doctor and fucking get it. They knew nothing about it. Doctors just threw out prescriptions like it was nothing. They had no idea what the hell they were doing. They were telling people to pin once every 2 weeks testosterone. They're telling them to inject testosterone once every 2 weeks. That's how stupid we were when it came to steroids back then. We had no idea. Testosterone, D-ball, DECA, everything was so new. We had no idea. Such a stupid thing to be like once every 2 weeks, dude. That'll just fuck your whole system up. You'd have to have the longest possible fucking ester for testosterone to like be like, I feel normal at the end of my 2 weeks versus the start of my 2 weeks. Like it just wouldn't work. And on top of that, D-ball, 15 milligrams a day. I just don't buy it because, I mean, he could have been. I think he was taking more, but also like, I wonder if there's more to it than that because they ate basically whatever they wanted, right? They ate pretty much whatever. They went out to breakfast every morning after training, got steak and shit. And he was just like, oh, when I was cutting, I just ate less carbs. Like that's all he did. And like they ate whatever they want. Like it just didn't, it doesn't really check out. Granted, their conditioning back then isn't what it is today. And their frames, their size, everything isn't what it is today. Arnold in his prime would not be able to compete nowadays. He's not even classic level. Like C-Bum is arguably bigger than Arnold was. There's a video or photo I saw of C-Bum and Arnold both doing I think it was a front double, and C-Bum looked bigger. So I mean, I don't even know if Arnold could even compete in classic today. I mean, he probably could. Like if he was in his prime right now, he'd probably be fucking next level. But his physique then wouldn't compete with the physiques now. So yeah, so that cycle just doesn't make any sense. And again, I think he was just kind of downplaying what he was taking. But also, what's funny is that I think it was either him or Tom Platz that talked about the price of anabolics back then. Dude, they were so cheap. I think he was saying a vial, which usually when people say a vial, they mean 10 milliliters. Was like of test was like $5. Dude, are you shitting me? Like the amount of money I would have saved by now if 10 milliliters of test was just $5. A 10 milliliter right now, I just bought test prop 10 milliliter for $50. Like the amount of money I would have saved. Granted, with inflation, it's probably like $20 in today's money or whatever, but like that's super cheap. And then D-ball, 100 pills was $8. You get a bottle, and 100 pills was $8. 100 pills now, I could probably get for like 130 to $150 or more. Like that's what I'd end up paying. It's crazy, like the amount of money that they didn't have to spend back then. And it was completely legal. Like you didn't have to worry about people arresting you or anything like that for it or coming after you because it was legal. So that, I don't know. I just kind of call bullshit on it. I think he was taking more. And they were like, oh, I was watching More Place, More Dates video on it. And he was saying that like during their cuts, they would just take like one more D-ball pill. Like that's all they would do because the knowledge wasn't there. There was no knowledge about anabolics back then. So they were like, oh, we just took 5 D-ball instead of 4 or whatever. So it's just like, yeah, my ass, dude, my ass. D-ball just puts on so much water. I can't see it being a cutting agent.
Well, I'm looking at an article here about, talking about Arnold's usage, and it's a interview between Rick. I'm going to mispronounce it. Drasen, and Steve Davis talking about steroids back in the in the golden era, and they don't call out
Yeah.
Arnold, but they say
An
that in
Austrian.
an Austrian, yeah, there
Yeah,
is a certain Austrian was
I've seen
taking
that.
4 D-ball a day and a shot a week. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and that's what they would do too. Is they'd pin their test just once a week. Um, but yeah, I did see that interview as well. He's unfortunately no longer with us. Rest in peace. I think he recently died actually. I could be wrong, but um, yeah, it was just there's a lot of speculation on what they were taking back then. Social media wasn't really a thing. They didn't really talk about it. It wasn't something that they wanted to bring up because they just wanted to be like, yeah, this is how I look. Um, so it was weird because also the other thing too with a lot of these bodybuilders, you'll be surprised with how little bodybuilders know what the fuck they're taking, what they're doing, because they just don't need to. Especially if you're on the pro stage, you just have like amazing genetics. They don't understand how anything works. They don't need to. It's their body
and
just
you have
responds to it.
a guy that you pay to do all the hard thinking
Right.
for you.
Right. And that's kind of what Derek was talking about in his Arnold video. It's just like, he's like, look, these guys just do what their coach tells them to do. They pin to the line that their coach told them to. They take this number of pills that their coach told them. They don't even know really what they're taking. They couldn't even name it probably. And this is a lot of pro bodybuilders. And same with the food, same with the training. Like none of it like makes sense to them. They just do what they're told and it just works for them. Which is like obviously like upsetting because like I have the genetics at least to compete, but like I don't have the genetics to be like it doesn't matter what I do, it works. It doesn't. So it's like it's so dumb. Like why would you not want to know how something works? And why would you not want to know what the fuck you're taking? Like I want to know what the hell I'm taking. Granted, my coach doesn't show me how to pin or anything like that. I kind of do that on my own. He just told me what to take, but it's just mind blowing to me. The other thing you got to take into account with these golden era bodybuilders and talking about their cycles is that they're talking about cycles from like literally 50 years ago. Like Arnold was in his prime in the 70s, like early 70s. Like that's 50 years ago he's talking about. So like, does he quite remember exactly what he was taking? Probably not. Like you've been off it for so long. Like if he was off it for like, let's say 40 years, do you really remember what your blast was? Like I probably
Yeah,
would
that's
forget. Like
true.
after 40 years, I probably would forget. You'd be like, I think I was in this ballpark, but that's about it. So like, that's why it's like, this guy was taking this guy was taking this. And it's just,
Unless you
yeah.
have like really like detailed scripted logs of what you were doing.
Yeah. Which technology then obviously doesn't really promote that. It
it,
was
it would be a notebook if anything.
Yeah, literally just like a notebook that somehow survived the test of time. Nowadays, like
The
I can go
test
back,
of time.
ha, ha, I can go back in my WhatsApp or my email and see all the cycles I ever took, all the meal plans I ever had, like everything that I've had with my coach since the beginning. It's just all there. It's all saved. It's all logged. Not on purpose. It's just never deleted. So I could go back and see. I can go back and see what I look like June of 2021, which is what I did recently, because I sent a weigh into him at that time, and my WhatsApp still shows that. So um, that's technology is very different. And also the anabolics are very different too. Right now is a unique time with anabolics because one, the technology is so high up there now and we're getting crazier and crazier. Granted, Trend is like the newest one on the market as far as like actually good steroids goes. Like there's been other ones like turkesterone and shit, but like Trend is the newest one that's actually like used. And we don't really know too much about Trend. We kind of know about it. We know what it's for and how it works and all of that, but we don't really know like the very long term side effects. Um, and on top, so like the technology is crazy, but also now within the community, if you're not part of the anabolic side of things, early like mid 2000s to like early 2010s, there was not a lot of vetting when it came to sources of anabolics. It was just you kind of just hope for the best, and you could have been pinning unpure shit. You could have been pinning completely different shit. You had no idea what the hell you were taking. You just trusted this guy, whoever it was. Really, at the time, it was probably just like a gym bro that you just trusted that what you were taking was what he says it is.
Bro science.
Now Yeah, basically. But now there's forums and there's groups and there's organizations essentially that like vet these people. I'm a part of a Facebook group you have to like apply to join or whatever, and they vet different steroid guy like anabolic dealers. And one of the dealers I go to um, has been vetted through testing, independent testing. So people will get stuff from them and they'll send it off to a lab and see what's actually in it. And they've been vetted pretty well. Another dealer I go to, I know it's good because he has a lot of Pfizer shit. He has the ins with Pfizer, but I know it's good because I can't give his email or any information to other people. It's only coaches he's designated to do that with. I'm not going to say who, but he'll be like, this coach right here, you can give it to your clients. You can give my email to your clients. I can work with your clients, but your clients cannot give my information to anybody
which makes
because that
sense.
shit, yeah, that shit will spread like wildfire. But this dude, you could tell like he's been through shit because he's kind of a dick when it comes to emailing. Like he's like his email will say like, if you don't give me your address, payment info, screenshots, whatever, I'm not shipping shit out. He's like, you need to do exactly what I say in every single email, or else I'm going to blacklist you. Like, that's basically what he said in the intro email. I said, hey, have some pricing, whatever. Like, it's wild. Like, he'll blacklist you the second he suspects anything, which makes sense. Um, but it's wild. Like, that's how I know I'm like, okay, this guy's legit because my other guy, anybody can essentially go to him and order shit. But like I know that he's been vetted, so like it's fine by me. But like this guy, he's like he don't fuck around, so I know that he's legit. So like that's interesting. But like back, 10, 15 past like 10 years ago and then up to about 15, 20 years ago, the vetting just wasn't there. It was just bro science, bros in the gym, basic forums on the internet, stuff like that. That like you could just find information on or find dealers, and it just you had no idea what the fuck you were getting. But like now it's a different world. Where it's a different world we live in now, which is great. It's pretty awesome, but it's also fucking scary too because the technology has come such a long way. It's like any drug. Weed is a whole fucking different world now than it was 40 years ago. So like for the like so like the D ball back in Arnold's era might be more pure than it is today because he's getting it from a doctor, but it might be also like not as efficient or something. Like the sourcing might not be 100%. Like we don't know how the D ball then would compare to the D ball now. And if we even had D ball from back then, we don't know. It wouldn't last to today. It'd be expired. Like it wouldn't do anything. The active ingredients would no longer be active. So it's like that scene with fucking Leonardo DiCaprio with the Quaaludes, the lemons. It's like that. It's
Yeah,
like
I'm not familiar.
okay. So in Wolf of Wall Street, they take a lot of Quaaludes and they took these lemons as a it's this brand basically. They were saving these Quaaludes for a special occasion. And they took way too many of them because it took forever for their body to process it.
Yeah, no, that and then the dancing scene. Okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
and he had like the paraplegic episode or whatever, like the paraplegic like phase of the drug. But like
Yep.
that's how it would be. Like you wouldn't really see much results probably from it, just because it's been so long. It's probably expired. Same with the test. It wouldn't. There's no way that test is safe nowadays. But yeah, so that's another thing you got to take into account too. It's just technology's come a long way, and knowledge has come a long way too. There's been a lot of studies. There's been a lot more bro science since the 70s as well, which take with a bucket of salt, not just a grain of salt, a bucket of salt. Um, but like that can provide some more information, different forums, all that shit. So that's another thing to keep into account. And again, they will probably say less than what they were taking because they're still competing in their mind. They still want to be like, oh, I did better with
Arnold at
less than these
70
guys.
whatever comes out of retirement and competes.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't last a fucking day. He'd have a heart attack. But Tom Platz is another one who came out relatively recently. This interview right here was October of last year, so that's pretty recent. And he was saying that he's like, oh, during the interview, he's like, you're not going to believe me when I say this, but I took 20 milligrams of Winstrol a day. Um,
and then a
The
shot of Deca.
one shot of Deca, 100 mil, which was 100 milligrams, and that was his life's drug cycle. So like that's what he would take constantly, which I fucking call bullshit. One, we all know, even back then, they knew Winstrol was a cutting agent. Winstrol is for prep, and even then, Winstrol is for the last like few weeks of prep. It's not something you take consistently. Deca, I can understand. Deca is Nandrolone is it was originally made as a TRT option instead of testosterone. That's where Deca derived from. So like I can understand running Deca pretty frequently. A lot of guys respond well to Deca, but don't respond well to test. So there is that. So like that makes sense. But Winstrol or stanozolol, depending on however you want to call it, Winstrol, stanozolol, 20 milligrams a day. It's just it doesn't really check out. Let me look up the typical cycle of Winstrol. Let me see. I'm not too familiar with Winstrol just because, as far as like common cycles, because I've never taken it myself. I will be. So when bodybuilders, so typical bodybuilder cycle starts at about 25 mgs a day and goes up to maybe about 100 mgs at most. But the sweet spot for most guys is around 50 mgs of Winstrol when you're prepping for a show. So he was saying he was taking 20 milligrams a day, which is on the very low side. Granted, he was saying he was taking it constantly, which is
I
insane.
wonder if that's, I mean, obviously calling bull on it, but I wonder if that's like, to have constant, like, I don't know, maybe consistency, like maintaining, but we know that Tom Platz went through bulks and cuts, so it's not like he
Yeah,
was maintaining
he
year round, which is the only reason I can think of for doing that every day consistently.
Yeah, so like that's kind of why I call bullshit is because it's not necessarily that you could take Winstall for an extended period of time. You shouldn't take any drug for an extended period of time. But like you could take it for like 16 weeks. The results from it, I have no idea. You shouldn't be taking it that long, but you could. But like consistently, and then on top of that, his strength was fucking unbelievable. Like
Yeah,
we still can't meet his strength. Nobody is able to meet his squat record. Nobody's able to beat that right now. Eventually, it will be beaten, but like to be like, oh, this is I was taking mainly cutting agents and a fucking borderline TRT dose, and I was able to squat 500 pounds 23 times with no assists. Yeah, my ass, bro,
and
my fucking
and
ass.
and that 500 for 23 was just him walking up and like whatever, I'll do it. Like
He
it
just
wasn't
did
even
it.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, it wasn't even like I'm gonna do the like get ready and do this. It was just like, whatever, let's do it.
yeah, he wasn't prepping for it. He wasn't training for it. He just fucking did it. Like, there's those guys who trained for like a year and a half to beat that record, and they still couldn't beat it. Like, that's how like ahead Tom Platz was when it came to his quads. Like, that's what's so crazy about Tom Platz. His upper body was what it didn't really meet the standard. That's why he didn't like do amazing in bodybuilding. I think he was a pro, but that's why he never really won anything big. But his quads were next level. That's why he's called the quad father, because he just was just genuinely fucking next level. So yeah, so that's why I kind of call bullshit, because you can have the best genetics in the world naturally, and you'll never come close to what Tom Platz was doing. So like he definitely needed to be on shit, and he was just like, oh, I never took any of the designer in quotations drugs, never did the designer drugs. I took the very minimum. He said he'd take less than girls would take, but it worked for him. He was just he was basically just like a very high responder, a very acute responder to anabolics. So that's why he was able to get to that point. So it's just like, I don't know, I just call bullshit. Um I love Tom Platz, tons of respect for him. My dream is to train with him one day. Like I would love to hit a leg day with him, but I just don't think that cycle he's talking about is 100% the truth. His peak was in the 80s, by the way, for those that don't know. 80s was like his decade. He was huge in the 80s. But yeah, so that's interesting to me. I don't really buy it, but it's just to each their own. I
Well,
take it with a grain of salt.
I think it's an interesting convo just because not that we know for a fact what people are taking nowadays, but we can surmise what people are taking nowadays, and it's like multiple compounds. It's a
Yeah,
ton of different things, and
yeah,
like even if the amount isn't true, like let's say he was only taking 2 compounds, but it was a lot more or something like that. Like that's still a harsh comparison to nowadays, how it's like we're gonna take these 4 different things and these 3 other things to counteract the side effects of those 4 things, and you've got like a bundle on your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it adds up quick too. Like so many guys nowadays take grams of shit. And the thing I've always preached with anabolics, and anybody who really knows what the hell they're talking about when it comes to anabolics, they'll 100% agree with me. Less is more. Less is always more. If you start off with a crazy cycle, you can only kind of move up from there. It's like, how do I explain it? It's like any medication, right? Like let's say like Adderall, you start off with 50 milligrams a day. You can never go to 10 milligrams because your body's so used to 50, you're going to feel like you're not even on it at 10 milligrams. So that's kind of how steroids works. It's when you get, the higher up you get with the amount of compounds, the less you're going to respond to them in the future. You kind of build up a tolerance. It's like any drug, you build up a tolerance. So like if you start off with fucking 500 megs a trend and 500 megs a test, like which first of all, for a first cycle, that's fucking retarded. You're going to kill yourself, but also like you're going to need to build upon that afterwards. Like you can't just like take that and then take half that for your next cycle and still get the same results. So you start off with less and slowly build your way up. And the other thing too, when it comes to anabolics, especially for prepping for a show, chances are the more you take, the worse you'll look. You need to, like, everybody talks about how, like, so Derek said this, which kind of pissed me off. He said he called bullshit on Arnold and Tom Platz because he was saying that to get to the Olympia level, drugs and anabolics is the cake itself. The food and training is the icing on it. And I call bullshit. You could take all the drugs in the world you want. If you don't train properly or eat properly, you're never going to get where you want to go with it. You'll make progress. There's plenty of guys who took like Anadrol while playing video games all day and they gained muscle and lost fat, but you're not going to be stage ready. And so like, and some of the best looks out there, somebody I know got first call out in a pro show and he was only on 1 compound for the last like 2 weeks before he stepped on stage. Like, and a very, very small dose of that too, like really small. So it's like, it's not really the end all be all. Like that's just, the technology doesn't, like the studies and the technology just doesn't show that anymore. It doesn't show that the more you take, the better you'll look. And there's somebody I watched a video on, I forget who it was. I have to look into it. He took like, I think it added up to like over 5 grams of steroids a week. Which is a lot. 5 grams is a lot. And he's prepping for a show. He got to the show and he looked like shit. Full of water, fat, didn't have definition. He had somewhat size. He looked old. The more you take, the worse you're going to end up looking, most likely. Nick Walker is an example of that. He takes so much shit. It's ridiculous. And it shows. He looks like an freak.
Alien.
Yeah, he looks like a freak. His fucking veins don't look good. He's so boxy. It's just, to me, I mean, granted, he looks like a freak, so it's crazy to look at. Like, that's how far the human body can go. But, like, he's not Olympia caliber. He doesn't have the look that the Olympia deserves. And that's why I think Derek Lunsford's going to start taking over, because he does have the look. He has the aesthetics. He has the size. He has the conditioning.
And he did real well at this past show.
Yeah, the only reason he didn't win it is because we talked about this, but the only reason he didn't win it is because he didn't pay his dues yet. He hasn't been in the game long enough at the Olympia level to win. Hadi Chupin deserved it, in my opinion. He could have gotten 1 or 2, but I think the amount of effort he's put in, and he's been robbed multiple times, he needed that fucking W.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just on the workout side of things, like the visa and everything just to get here. Like,
oh yeah. He's faced so much adversity just to come here. And then also the other thing with the culture of the Middle East is that it's all about honor. So if you lose, you don't bring honor back to your country. You don't bring honor back to your family. You get second, it doesn't matter. You still lost. So like winning, he's like a famous celebrity now because he won. You know, it's
Well,
just
did
this like,
you see the airport when he
oh, it's
touched down
crazy.
and the streets
Yeah.
were just full?
Yeah. He was the best bodybuilder in the world that day. Like
Yeah.
he won the biggest show of the year. So he brought a lot of honor to his family. So he deserved that 100%, in my opinion. Derek, now is Derek's time. It's Derek's time. He deserves it. He deserves the crown. But yeah, so that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, so the grams of shit is just really just the science doesn't show it anymore. Granted, men's open, classic physique, and men's physique all require different amounts of anabolics. Men's physique, typically, when I see the craziest cuts as far as amount of drugs, is typically under a gram. I'm under a gram. I'm on about 0.7 milligrams of total anabolics. Sorry, 0.7 grams, so 700 milligrams total, which really isn't too much, especially for a prep. And we also haven't changed anything out. A lot of people, a lot of guys in any division, they end up running like they'll run tests the whole time. They might run master on for most of it, but they change shit out as they go, right? So, you know, they might replace master on with Winstrol halfway through and then take trend for the last 6 weeks. But prior to that, they take whatever. So like I haven't changed anything either. It's been the same thing the entire time, which is unique in that sense too. But yeah, it's just the less is more. It's just all that's gonna like that's the reality now, and a lot of guys don't want to buy it. They don't want to buy into that. It's just how it is. And the other thing too is that when we're talking about these cycles, the golden era, current, all that, you feel like a superhuman when you're on it. So you're more prone to taking more because you want to feel better and better and better and better. And then there's a threshold where you just start getting diminishing returns and it starts to hurt you. So that's why
Well,
it also is more.
there's the point that you reach from, like we talked about, the dependence almost. Like you get to the point
Yeah.
where you're taking so much that your body doesn't actually achieve the gain, so you have to take more, and then it just goes way over the boundary of health.
Snowballs.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the risk reward is like minuscule unless you're going for your 8th Olympia to take the crown. Like
Yeah.
there's no point for it.
Yeah, it's just not how it is anymore. And at the same time, like even bulking, like a lot of guys assume you need to like put on ton of shit for bulking, and that's just not the reality anymore. The science doesn't show it. Anecdotally, it doesn't show it. And also the other thing too is that 90% of guys don't respond well to steroids. That's a reality.
Yeah.
Most guys don't respond well to steroids. Most guys look like shit on steroids. There are plenty of guys in the gym. I guarantee at least every gym has a handful of guys who take steroids and they don't look like they do. Um, and it's just the reality for most guys. So you need to be careful when you do take shit because you might not get the results you wanted. I'm very blessed in a sense. So I'm cursed with bad natural genetics. I never would have been able to compete naturally, but I'm very blessed to have the genetics to respond well to anabolics, which is unique. It's not everybody that gets to say that. I know people who are extremely hyper responders to test alone. I'm a very hyper responder to the DHTs. Specifically test, I'm pretty normal like most people. But at least normal in the sense that I respond well to it, like anybody else who responds well to it. I'm not a hyper responder. I'm not a bad responder. I respond average to guys who respond well to it. And bulking cycles too is not as complex as people think it is. With social media nowadays, like look at the golden era. They're not talking about trend. They're not talking about anadrol. They're not talking about masteron or all these other primobolan or EQ or anything like that back in the golden era, and they're still looking crazy. So like you don't need to take a shit ton of compounds to look great if you can respond well to steroids. I want to preface all this by saying I'm not an endocrinologist. I'm not even really an expert when it comes to super physiological anabolic steroids. I can have a conversation about it and I can read about it and understand what people are saying, but I can't like write someone a cycle. And I never would just for the liability reasons. But like, I know Sebum was talking about it. I think it was like beginning of last year, maybe the year before that, he was talking about what his typical bulking cycle looks like. And I think it was like 500 megs a test and like 300 or 400 megs a primo. Like that's it. I know Jay Cutler talked about it. Let me look it up to be sure exactly what he said. I know it was test and EQ. Um, let me look it up here. So like most guys who are huge when it comes to like when it comes to stage readiness and all of that, they're not taking nearly as much as people think. Yeah, so he said in his off season, which is bulking, off season is another word for that. He would take 500 megs of test and 600 megs of EQ, which I mean is a fucking shit ton for both of those. I mean, 500 megs of test is the bro science level, but 600 milligrams of EQ is insane. He loved EQ. That's his favorite. He didn't do a lot of orals. He said in the beginning he tried Anadrol and D-ball mixed with the test. He also tried Deca, but he wasn't a fan of Deca. He said, let's see, he knows now a lot more than he did back then. He says he doesn't know if he should have gotten Winstrol or Inovar. He was using a parabolin apparently during his cut. And Tren wasn't really around that much. He got into insulin towards the end. But that was kind of an additive. He said he is kind of like on the top of everything. And insulin is usually used for carb partitioning when it comes to prepping for a show. But yeah, ultimately it just came down to test and EQ. For 10 weeks, he'd run that, and then he'd just come off completely. He would just cruise immediately after 10 weeks of that, which is not good. But in his competition prep, let's see, come off for 12 weeks. He would come off everything for 12 weeks, which is 3 months. Then he would start his cycle for the Arnold Classic. Then he would come off after the Arnold. He'd have a break from everything for 8 to 12 weeks, and then he'd start everything back up in June for the Olympia. So he was off about half the year, off everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He tried GH at 4 IUs a day, got up to 9 and 12 on and off. But for him, 9 was the sweet spot. But yeah, so even Jay Cutler, like his bulking, his off season wasn't really that crazy. It wasn't a shit. I mean, it was a lot. It was over a gram, but like it's not super complex. And with social media nowadays,
I was gonna say if you want a complex mass one, I just looked up Rich Piana's cycle for his. I think this is for gaining 30 pounds in like 3 months.
Yeah. What was his cycle? I know he took a lot of GH.
Test 15 megs a week.
15? No, that can be right.
Sorry, 1500. Sorry.
1500?
All right, so let me. I'll send you the article.
No way, dude. There's no shot.
It's the very first one if you look up Rich Piana cycle under bodybuilder in Thailand.com. Yeah, and that's just the first one. There's 5 that follow.
There's no way. I mean, actually, so is it muscular development?
It is Rich Piana steroid cycle, and it's called bodybuilder in Thailand.com. Just look up Rich Piana cycle.
Okay, got it. Rich Piana steroid cycle.
And then if you scroll down.
No way he was taking that much. I mean, granted, he also died, so I'm not necessarily surprised. Like, if he was still alive, I'd call bullshit, but he did die, so there is that.
Busted.
It's 1,500. This is a snack. 1,500 mgs of test indentate, 900 mgs of boldenone undisciplinate, which is equipoise, your EQ, 600 mgs of tren, 300 mgs of oral anadrol, 20 IUs of HGH. That's so much, dude. Holy shit. Like, he talked about how expensive HGH is, and he's like, I can afford it, but still, it's fucking expensive. Dude, you're taking 20 IUs a day. Like, that's so fucking much. I can't even explain, like, how much, like, I can't even explain how much that is. Like, that he's going through realistic, like, that's like, we're talking like Liver King level of money here. Like,
13,000 a month on all that he's taken.
I think he was getting like medical quality. I think I could be wrong, HGH, but like let's say he got it through a dealer where it's cheaper. You could probably get like 100 IUs for like $350, and he's going through that in 5 days. So we're talking like $2,000 a month in HGH, probably
Yeah.
realistically. Which, of course, 20 IUs is just fucking ridiculous. That's such a crazy amount of GH. Anadrol, shit ton. Tren, shit ton. EQ, shit ton. Like, the amount of money he probably spent on all this, like, he'd literally have to pin every single day for test and EQ because
Yeah,
there's just so
and
much.
it's just so much. Like,
It's so,
I'm
like,
thinking, those joke giant medical syringes, the joke ones.
yeah,
Just,
he's
ugh.
he's got a fucking turkey baster to fucking pin, dude. Turkey baster to the fucking delt. Clearly, look at his delts. Yeah, you can get most test E is like 250 megs a milliliter. So he's taking was that 6 milliliters a week. If he didn't want a fucking bowling ball of liquid sitting in his muscle, he would need to pin every single day. And milliliters a day, too. Like not even like half a mil or whatever. Like we're talking like probably like 2 mil a day. He's probably pinning between the Tren. You can get probably about 100 megs per milliliter. So he's taking 6 milliliters of that. EQ is I think usually around 300 megs a milliliter. So he's taking 3 mils of that. So we're talking 15 milliliters of liquid a week is what he's taking.
Yeah.
Like he'd literally have to take over 2 milliliters of liquid a day. That's fucking
And that
insane.
also, and those don't also include his now I'm blanking on the name. He was taking or injecting the liquid. Well, not
Oh,
liquid, but
synthol. Yeah, he
synthol.
was doing synthol. He was definitely
Yeah.
doing
So,
synthol.
and that doesn't even include the synthol right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
So, guys,
anadrol.
this is your starter cycle. If you're just getting into anabolics, this is what you want to look at right here. Okay.
Yeah, this is the first cycle you should run if you want to die.
Can you
Dude,
imagine if this
imagine,
is what was
dude,
recommended as your
dude.
first cycle? Like obviously it has to be recommended
Well,
to
of
someone who
course
has
not.
money. But like
Yeah,
you're a millionaire, you're getting into it, and your coach goes, "All right, I'm gonna need you to buy all this."
yeah. That's yeah, no. Oh, okay. Let me just go ahead and drop $3,000 a month. That's fine. No worries. But like I was gonna say, like imagine overdosing on like steroids. Like you like pin, you just fucking you just like fall over. It's just too much. You know what I mean? Like it's just like no
Elvis
build
Presley
up.
in the bathroom.
No, yeah, for real. Yeah, like no like build up, no heart
Just
issues. You just pin so much, you just fucking
instead
fall and
of
die.
the trend coughs, you just get the trend dead.
Yeah, you just die. You like half cough and fucking dead.
Jesus.
Anadrol, yeah, Anadrol itself is extremely powerful. Anadrol,
But the problem
um,
is with that though is that Anadrol's oral and your liver's
is
going through the ringer at
oh,
that point.
Anadrol wrecks your fucking liver. It's
Well,
so toxic.
anything oral
Yeah, of
because that
course, but
stuff isn't
Anadrol.
supposed to go in.
I
Yeah.
mean, it'll all hurt your liver, but Anadrol specifically is very harsh on your liver. And you like bodybuilder cycles normally don't last more than 12 weeks on Anadrol, and even then, that's really long. Um, and most guys will say Anadrol is not even really worth it because of how harsh it is. But it's Anadrol was designed for people who have like AIDS and cancer that like lose like that have like muscular dystrophy that like
Mm.
can't go to the gym or anything like that or exercise. So they take the Anadrol to actually like keep their muscles where they are so that they can fucking function normally without even training. Like guys have gained 12 pounds of muscle in like months with Anadrol, like doing nothing. Anadrol is so insanely powerful. But he also took a lot of Tren. That's way too much Tren. 600 megs is way too much. Like the craziest Tren cycle you'll see for anyone really is usually about 400 to 500. Tren is for those like Tren has gotten such a fucking stupid like rap to it now because it's like, oh, it's the steroid. This is the steroid you should take, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's a cutting agent is really what it's for. You build strength, yes, but that's not what it's for. You take it so that you can ideally build some muscle while cutting. That's why I haven't lost a lot of weight, is because I'm also putting on some muscle right now on top of the fat that I'm losing. And muscle weighs a lot more than fat does. So that's what trends for. It's not a bulk. You can use it for bulking, but it's really not for that. And it's not the end all be all. And it's like the trend twins really kind of like ruin the image of trend, because granted, trend is for a lot of guys is kind of overrated, but like it's trend is not where, like, social media does not portray trend in the way it should be portrayed. You don't see people posting about Anavar or Anadrol or anything like that, which Anadrol is arguably more powerful than Tren is, but people don't talk about it. It's just a meme, so people associate Tren being like the steroid. But yeah, so that's a different, thing right there. Let's see. So there's also Ronnie Coleman did an interview with Tom Platz where he talked about his steroid cycle. So in his pre-contest, his cycle dosages, we're talking about all this, guys, because Arnold came out recently and Tom Platz came out recently, which are like two of the biggest bodybuilders ever. So like this is kind of a hot topic right now. So his pre-contest cycle was Test X, which I think is testosterone, but it's a different suspension. I don't even know what I like. That's so. Let me look it up. What the hell just happened? Why is my keyboard not typing? Okay, one sec. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, so Test X is testosterone booster. It's an anabolic formula designed to maximize testosterone output. So it's like a anabolic testosterone support compound. So it's 250 mgs per milliliter, and he did 750 mgs per week. Three injections. He did Primo, 300 milligrams. Primo is 100 mgs per milliliter in this case. So he did 3 pins of that. He did Deca, 200 milligrams per week. It's unclear if he used 200 mgs from the interview, if it's per week or not. He just said he took 200 mgs, but it's assumed that it's per week. Testosterone heptalate, which is 500 mgs per week, split into one. So he pinned that twice. 250 mgs per milliliter, Primo, D-ball, or Anadrol, depending on where he's at. Anywhere from 25 to 100 mgs per day, depending on which one he took. As far as the tablets go, so you can get Primo tablets, you can get D-ball tablets. All of it's like D-ball and Anadrol are known for being oral. Primo is known for being injected, but if he's taking the oral version, he's anywhere from 25 to 100 mgs per day. HGH 4 IUs per day, which is actually really low. That's lower than I expected. And then he took insulin, 30 IUs split into 215 IU injections only for the carb up phase before competition. So he would take insulin during a carb up, which some guys do like the last couple weeks. They'll increase the carbs slightly. We're talking like an ounce of rice or some shit, because then that way your body's digesting more, which kicks it into overdrive, and then you cut it all out and you're still in overdrive and you're shedding more because of that. So that's what he would use, so that his body would utilize the carbs more. And then, so like you'd lower your blood sugar, taking the carbs to spike your blood sugar again. And that way you burn more calories. So that's what he would do pre-competition carb up phase. So like, that's a pretty fucking crazy cycle. I mean, it's not as much as I expected if it's true. So like he probably took total, we're talking like 2-ish grams, 2.5 grams of anabolics, not including the GH or the insulin, which is 4 IUs, which is international units, and 30 IUs, depending on the concentration. Like let's say you get a vial, it's like 10 IUs of powder, and you put like 1 milliliter of backwater, which is like antibacterial water. It's like basically sterile water. It's not just like what's it called? Not spring water. What's the other one? You can buy it at the store. What's the other version of water? Distilled. It's not distilled
Distilled.
water.
Well,
It's like
distilled water. You don't drink distilled water.
no. I'm saying like backwater is a different thing than both of those. It's completely entire like it's like completely sterile water.
Yeah.
So you put that. Let's say like the vial has like 10 IUs, and you put like a milliliter in that, little vial of like GH, let's say, and it's like 1 milliliter. So each day he would take like zero point 0.4 milliliters a day. So like that's how that would check out. It comes as a powder, and you put backwater inside the little tiny vial of water or of powder, and you just put in a certain amount that you can do the math out properly. So like if you could fit like 1.5 milliliter and you end up doing like zero point 0.3 milliliters because of that, it's just easier math. So it ends up being distributed easier. The 30 IU insulin, I'm not too sure how insulin comes, whether that's liquid already or not. But I also don't know too much about insulin in general. I think insulin is what'll kill you. It's very, very bad for you.
I mean,
To
I
fuck
know
with insulin.
from the diabetic point of view, it's liquid that you inject.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if you buy it like underground, whether or not that's going to be a liquid or
Oh,
a powder.
okay. Yeah.
Because like when most dealers get stuff in, it's a powder, and they suspend it in something. It's called suspension. Some of them do water. SARMs, they use alcohol, usually like vodka or something like that. Um, some do like MCT oil. So like there's different kinds of suspensions that they do, but they usually get it in a powder form. When you get a prescription, they probably suspend it in something healthy like MCT oil, or something like that, like antibacteria, like sterile MCT oil or something, maybe coconut oil or something. I don't know, something that'll suspend wherever you're injecting it. Granted, diabetes is a different ballgame because they do smaller amounts. They do a very small amount, especially if you have it hooked up constantly to you. It's a little machine, and it'll dispense a little
Yeah.
bit at a time,
Or those
whenever you
new
need it.
the new arm
The
ones that they
patch.
have. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I've seen those. Those are pretty sick. Diabetes has come a long way as far as like treating diabetes has come a long way, especially if
Yeah.
you're type 1. Type 2 you can manage with diet. Type 2 is not really like that serious if you take it seriously. If you take it seriously, it's not that big of a deal. If you don't take it seriously, it'll kill you. Um, but yeah, so insulin, I don't know too much about, as far as how it works. But yeah, so I mean, it's not too much as I expected it to be, um, in comparison to, like I said, what I thought it was going to be. But yeah, so that's his. Dorian Yates came out with his. I'm not really the biggest fan of Dorian Yates. He just spews a lot of bullshit, in my opinion. And he just thinks he's the best, the best of the best ever, and he's just so up his own ass.
Yeah, I know
Um,
you've talked about how your thing against him is like mostly the attitude. Like,
yeah, he's just fucking arrogant, is what he's just like.
yeah.
Oh, I'm the best there is. Nobody trained like me. I walked through 1.5 feet of snow to go train. It's like you're an idiot. That was so
Hmm.
fucking pointless. Like you don't need to walk 8 hours to go train. Like if you knew anything about like what, because he's probably the example of like he doesn't know what the hell he was doing. It just worked for him. Like if he knew anything about training, he'd actually be better off not going and walking for however long he said he did through snow and resting than he would have doing like going and training. He would have like made a lot more gains that way. It's just stupid. He didn't know. To me, it just seemed like he didn't know what he was doing and just acted like this is what you need to do. Like you need to be this hardcore, but you just don't. It's not the reality.
Yeah.
Granted, he was the first ever mass monster, so clearly it worked. But I just don't think that people should follow what he says. It's like David Goggins.
But
Like I can't stand David Goggins.
at the same time though, I don't view the mass monsters as anything you should really strive towards. Obviously, I'm coming from
Agreed.
more the aesthetic side of things, but also longevity. Like both of those combined, like you want to look good and you want to look good for a long time. Like getting yourself to like Nick Walker style is not what I mean. Just me personally, not what you should be striving towards.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a super heavyweight one day, but I didn't want to be a mass monster. Like I wanted to
Yeah,
be aesthetic. Like the guys I looked up to at the time I wanted to be super heavyweight was oh my gosh, he passed away in 2020. Um, oh man, why am I drawing a blank? Um, this one guy, and then I also looked up to Regan Grimes as well. I think Regan Grimes has really good aesthetics.
Yep.
Um,
I
Let me
thought you
look
said
up who it
Rick
was.
Grimes for a sec from The Walking Dead. I was like, nope,
No,
not what you should be going for.
it was. Let's see. Well, not Boston Lloyd. That's not him. Let me see. See if I can. Luke Sandow. Luke Sandow. That's who it was. Why was I drawing a
Yeah.
blank? I really liked Luke Sandow's look. Um, Supposedly he took his own life at age 30. I think supposedly he died May 7th, 2020, 2 days after my birthday, which sucked. I really looked up to his physique. He supposedly committed suicide. But yeah, so like those two guys is who I looked up to because I just found them very, very aesthetic, and not like freakish in a bad way. But yeah, so that's what you should. I mean, everybody has their own things that they strive for and their own things that they
Yeah,
aim for.
absolutely. Like
Um,
me and you come from like a very specific, like, look good for the moment, like the aesthetic side of things always over anything else. Like,
yeah, yeah,
obviously there's people who want to be, a Hulk, a straight up Hulk.
yeah. That was me for a while. I wanted it to be massive, but it just I don't have the genetics for it. Um, but it is what it is. So yeah, so that's where we're at right now. That's my current update. Next weekend we'll figure something out. Stuff. I'll be in Florida next weekend, but we'll figure something out.
It could always be my solo cryotherapy one.
Yeah. We could maybe record like an hour one of these evenings, or like maybe tomorrow or something, like tomorrow evening, record like an hour or something. We'll figure it out. You guys will have an episode to listen to. Don't worry. Um, but yeah, I'll be in Florida next week, so I'll be posting that. I'm not posting any physique updates. The closest thing to a physique update is going to be photos of me in Florida.
Yep.
I don't want anybody to know where I'm at until I step on stage. So that'd be the closest thing. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. And we'll come up with a topic for next week. But thanks for listening, guys. Don't do steroids. We just talked about it today. That's all.
Yeah, more or less the outcome of this conversation.
Yeah, we just talked about, Arnold really is the reason why we talked about it.
Yep. All
Cool.
right, everybody. We
All
will
right,
be
we'll see you
seeing you
guys.
guys next week.
Yeah, see ya.
See ya.